Is there a statute of limitations on SA of minors? That's the question I have. But let's just jump right in. Today I'm talking about antitrust, SA of minors. Let's talk about it.
The Copyright Act protects original artwork, but that protection doesn't extend to industrial designs. However, it can be difficult to distinguish artwork from industrial designs when an industrial design includes artistic features. The Supreme Court examined where to draw this line in Varsity Brands Incorporated versus Star Athletica LLC. Varsity Brands Incorporated, a designer and manufacturer of cheerleading uniforms, had more than 200 copyright registrations for its designs, which included different combinations of chevrons, stripes, and colorful shapes. After Varsity's competitor, Star Athletica LLC, began selling cheerleading uniforms with similar designs, Varsity sued Star for copyright infringement. The district court granted Star's motion for summary judgment, explaining that a solid-colored cheerleading uniform with no design wouldn't be identifiable as a cheerleading uniform. Therefore, a cheerleading uniform's designs can't be separated from the useful article it appears on, and designs that can't exist independently don't qualify for copyright protection. The Sixth Circuit reversed, ruling that the function of cheerleading uniforms didn't depend on their designs. Thus, the designs were separate from the uniforms, and Varsity's copyrights were valid. The Supreme Court granted cert.
North Texas mom is suing an elite cheer program, claiming the gym is discriminating against her daughter, who is deaf.
And they are allegations the gym's operators say are false. NBC5's Katie Blakey takes a closer look and has perspective from a legal expert on disability rights.
9-year-old Ari loves cheerleading.
I love to cheer because it's my favorite sports.
For 3 years, she's competed with Plano-based Cheer Athletics, one of the largest cheer facilities in North Texas.
To know where she's come and to watch her do that is beautiful.
Ari is deaf and lives with cochlear implants. Over the last year, she says understanding her coaches has become more difficult.
And I can't do it, and I get in trouble, and I get frustrated.
Her mother says Ari needs an American Sign Language interpreter to relay the coach's directions during challenging and potentially dangerous routines. In a lawsuit, she alleges Cheer Athletics has failed to provide an interpreter for every practice and competition. And when an interpreter is provided, the gym has placed, quote, significant restrictions on their actions, limiting where they stand and what they sign, quote, thereby misses learning opportunities and safety warnings otherwise available to her hearing teammates. The lawsuit claims the gym is violating Ari's rights under the American Disabilities Act.
There is a lot of emotions that go through when you know your baby is capable, and I know what my child is capable of doing.
Cheer Athletics tells NBC5 the claims are false, saying they provided a translator at their own expense, writing, our investment in this athlete surpasses tens of thousands of dollars, and the accommodations provided have changed the method and manner of instruction for this athlete and the team. We have advocated for this athlete to ensure she remains an integral part of her squad. Adding, Cheer Athletics has decades of success, with athletes with hearing loss succeeding to the highest levels.
And it's very rare that actual litigation is filed about these issues.
Attorney Leah Cifuentes Davis is director of the Civil Rights Clinic at UT Law and spent a decade working at Disability Rights Texas.
The onus is on the business to provide effective communication, but the ADA does not necessarily spell out the specifics of and the minutia of how to accomplish that effective communication.
She says litigation can often involve reviewing if the request is reasonable and whether or not it places an undue burden on the business. Mom says she wants Ari to have the same experience as her teammates and get back to enjoying the sport she loves.
I just feel proud of myself.
That's amazing.
Katie Blakey, NBC5.
And you could read the lawsuit.
So the initial video I played, I wanted to play a video on the actual antitrust lawsuits that Varsity Spirit in particular had been facing over the last few years or so. And a lot of it has been swept under the rug. A lot of lawsuits have settled, which makes it a little bit more difficult to speak from a more lawful perspective, because when you settle it, there's nothing more really you can do legally, right? But that doesn't mean that bad things hasn't happened, or allegations don't exist, or there's more lawsuits that they're facing or that's coming, so on and so forth. Just the ones that have already happened have been settled. And that's okay. I'll still talk about it because it's important. This young lady's case is an example of that, but it's not just people or participants who may be living with disabilities, it's how they run their business in general. And I keep bringing up Varsity Spirit, and I keep bringing up these organizations, Greek letter organizations and fraternities, sororities, not just because it's, oh, they worship an allegorical idol. Yes, okay, everybody knows that. That's Roman. Okay, Greek, sure, whatever, right? But when you look at it from a legal perspective, you're more so talking about inflation of prices, blocking or disadvantaging rival cheer event producers, using governance influence to benefit their particular organization. More things that go into it, that like favoritism, bribes, things like that, okay? Just to put it simply. But they settled for $43.5 million for claims against them for antitrust practices, and $82.5 million settlement for indirect purchasers, including parents, athletes who paid through gyms, schools. So they're taking money from people, inflating prices, and excluding competition and excluding people who, not just through legal practices, not just through legal barriers, but through socially as well, harassment, so on and so forth. Okay, I have more videos lined up. Let's keep going.
Suit and cheer.
Now to more fallout from the rock star cheer investigation. Today, a new federal lawsuit was filed in Greenville against Varsity Spirit and the U.S. All-Star Federation. The lawyers say these new lawsuits represent 3 new victims, 1 male and 2 females. A new coach.
Actually, before we get into the SA allegations, I do want to finish off talking about the antitrust stuff, because that's also important. Just like the Epstein files, I think it's very easy to fall into, oh, the only victims are victims of assault or abuse. And it's much bigger than that. This is financial as well. So it's important to talk about it from all perspectives. So I'm just going to read this out here about the lawsuit itself. So the plaintiffs had alleged that Varsity had used okay, let me start from up here. The negotiation team reached a settlement of the matter for $43.5 million in cash plus valuable prospective relief that would unwind some of the key conduct that the plaintiffs had alleged Varsity had used to monopolize the market for all-star cheer events in the United States. The court preliminarily approved the settlement and scheduled a final approval hearing. The plaintiffs alleged that Varsity, in combination with USASF, acquired, enhanced, and maintained monopoly power in the all-star event market through an unlawful scheme consisting of exploiting its substantial market power to A, impair and then buy up any actual or potential rivals that could possibly threaten Varsity's dominance in certain alleged relevant markets. B, impose exclusionary agreements on all-star gyms that require the gyms to agree on their own behalf and on behalf of their members to patronize Varsity exclusively or nearly exclusively. And C, leverage its control of all-star cheer governing bodies including USASF, to impair actual or potential rivals. The plaintiffs alleged that as a result of Varsity's and USASF's unlawful and anti-competitive conduct, the plaintiff and classes paid higher prices for all-star events than they would have paid absent the alleged anti-competition conduct. Okay. That sounds very, very, very familiar. And I'm going to keep going into the other lawsuits that Varsity Spirit has faced, but I do not want to minimize or forget about the antitrust lawsuits that it's been through as well, because obviously there is much more conversation about the SA, which is just as important, but it's also important to weigh in on its antitrust practices. And this is just one lawsuit. The other lawsuit that they settled for $82.5 million, which was to resolve a class action lawsuit accusing the cheerleading events promoter of overcharging athletes. So the price goes up, right? They accused Varsity and affiliated entities of scheming to box out competitors from the cheer industry, allowing Varsity to charge higher prices in violation of U.S. antitrust law. Varsity's current owner, Bain Capital, and prior owner, Charles Bank Capital, were also defendants and are participating in the settlement. And I don't know if you know, but Bain Capital is also implicated with Jeffrey Epstein. So Varsity Spirit, Jeffrey Epstein, Bain Capital is the common denominator there. Okay, the defendants all denied wrongdoing, of course, which is why they settled for $82.5 million in this separate lawsuit outside of the one that they settled for 43.5 for the same allegations of antitrust practices. Okay. So, in a statement, Memphis-based Varsity said it welcomed the resolution and would contribute to a shared fund with other defendants. We are confident that Varsity Spirit acted appropriately and in the best interest of our sport. Of course, Bain and the plaintiffs declined to comment. Charles Bank did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Varsity last year settled a related case lodged by gyms, spectators, and other direct purchaser plaintiffs for $43 million. Okay, so those are the two antitrust lawsuits that Varsity Spirit, and Varsity Spirit is just one of many other cheer organizations, which I'm sure practice similarly because they've all faced other similar lawsuits throughout the years, okay? But I'm just talking about Varsity Spirit right now. So let's move on. I do have another video. Let's start this over.
Now to more fallout from the Rockstar cheer investigation. Today, a new federal lawsuit was filed in Greenville against Varsity Spirit and the U.S. All-Star Federation. The lawyers say these new lawsuits represent 3 new victims, 1 male and 2 females. A new coach has also been named in the lawsuits, Jared Karuba. The new lawsuit alleges sexual abuse by coaches during their time cheerleading for Varsity Spirit and Rockstar Cheer. The lawsuit also claims the victims were exposed to drugs and alcohol while competing. For more on this lawsuit and Varsity's response to the lawsuit, head to WYFF4.com.
Former local cheerleading coach is expected to face a judge in court today.
33-year-old Alicia Tax facing multiple counts of child molestation. 12 News reporter Kayla Fish live right now with more.
Well, Alicia Tax is set to appear in Providence Superior Court here behind me later today for a bail review hearing, and this will mark the first time that we'll see the former cheer coach in a courtroom. The 33-year-old was arrested outside of her Cranston home earlier this month on 7 charges of child molestation. That following a months-long investigation by East Providence police, who tell us they began investigating after the victim came forward. That victim, who's now an adult, told police the alleged crimes happened almost daily between the ages of 12 to 14 years old in East Providence and Barrington. Police tell us Tax was active in the cheer community and had been affiliated with the group Superior Cheer, which closed back in 2019. Investigators reached out to the public last week for information on any other possible victims.
We are here, or if something happened in another city or town, they should feel free to reach out to the police department, do everything we can to assist them with an investigation and get them justice.
Now, Tax had been working as a nurse at a hospital in Rhode Island, but has since been suspended without pay. She's also been held without bail and is expected to appear in Superior Court sometime today. Live in Providence, I'm Kayla Fish, 12 News.
All right, so if you followed last week's major escalation of the Rockstar Cheer saga, a federal lawsuit, an amended complaint alleged a RICO conspiracy. And I want to quote from the lawsuit because this is very significant. They allege a conspiracy of multiple defendants who conspired to recklessly, intentionally, and willfully endanger plaintiffs by exposing minor athletes to illegal sexual abuse. Now, in that lawsuit, there was a line that I don't think has gotten quite as much attention as it should.
All sexual abuse is illegal.
Because it points to an individual who is alleged to be the ringleader of this conspiracy. And I want to quote from the federal complaint, the amended complaint filed last week. Refers to Jeff Webb, the former owner of Varsity. And it refers to him as follows, and I quote, Webb was at the forefront of the conception and execution of the alleged unlawful conspiracy. In other words, this guy, according to the attorneys who filed this suit, is the dark Sith Lord, the Emperor Palpatine of the Varsity Rockstar Cheer scandal. Now, this news outlet received a statement from Jeff Webb this week, and I wanted to read that. We're going to be covering it on Fitz News, obviously, but I wanted to read it in its entirety because I do think it's important. This is a news outlet that is an open microphone. We share all sides of issues. Anyone who is covered in our pages, welcome to take that microphone for themselves. Mr. Webb did just that, and I want to read a statement. Mr. Webb finds the allegations of sexual abuse associated with Rockstar Cheer to be heartbreaking, and he supports a full and thorough investigation of the allegations. He fully stands with the survivors. Mr. Webb's 40-year career has been committed to making cheer a beneficial experience for the participants, including their health and safety. He's been a leader in creating modern-day cheerleading and has been at the forefront of establishing and promoting safety rules and standards for all levels of cheer athletes. The All-Star Gym companies like Rockstar are privately owned entities and are operated by individual business owners. Mr. Webb has never had any management or operating authority whatsoever over privately owned gym companies like Rockstar or their owners, coaches, and employees. Mr. Webb left his CEO and president position at Varsity in 2016, after which he has had no executive management authority in the company and no involvement in its day-to-day decisions or operations. In December of 2020, he left the employment of Varsity solely to focus on International Cheer Union and other business opportunities outside of cheerleading. Mr. Webb denies all accusations in the lawsuit and highlights that the complaint alleges no facts that he engaged in any conspiracy or misconduct, nor that he was aware of any sexual misconduct by others. Any suggestions to the contrary are spurious and defamatory. The complaint does nothing more than further reinforce Mr. Webb's role in helping to create a sport that has benefited millions of young athletes. Mr. Webb will be filing a motion to dismiss the meritless lawsuit. All right, that in its entirety, the statement attributed to Jeff Webb, the founder and former owner of Varsity and one of the named defendants in the massive federal lawsuit targeting sexual abuse in the cheerleading industry. As this story continues to unfold, count on Fitz News to continue bringing the breaking news as well as every perspective related to this drama as we continue to seek to hold this industry accountable.
A Memphis-based cheerleading company.
Yeah. Parents of a Georgia cheerleader have filed a staggering lawsuit against Varsity Brands, which was Jeff Webb's company. It's a former private equity owner, USA Cheer, and others seeking more than $200 million over claims that their minor daughter was sexually exploited, drugged, and filmed by her longtime cheer coach. Carry on.
Company, which sponsors cheer tournaments all over, is now under fire, facing a federal lawsuit with claims of abuse. Rebecca Butcher joins us now with more details from this lawsuit. Rebecca.
Richard, for many, the global company Varsity is cheer. The lawsuit alleges that underage athletes face physical, emotional, as well as sexual abuse, while Varsity, along with others, allowed it. Allegations against Memphis-based company Varsity Spirit.
This is something that's happening all around the country. The most amazing thing is Varsity just built a new facility here in Memphis, Tennessee, and they built it on the back of sex abuse victims. That's a fact.
That facility attorney Bakari Sellers is talking about is in uptown Memphis.
USASF, Bain Capital, Varsity has allowed sex abuse to go. It feels as if they simply don't care.
Accused of allowing predatory behavior, the suit names Varsity founder Jeff Webb, the U.S. All-Star Federation, and U.S. Cheer. Now, many consider Varsity as cheer itself, the global company that leads in cheer and dance apparel, plus camps and competitions.
There is a culture of over-sexualization in cheer. In the case of USA Gymnastics, I think Bakari has said this before, Larry Nassar was one person. We have reason to believe that there are people like Larry Nassar, that there are predators in gyms all across the country.
Court documents accuse several Varsity-affiliated coaches and representatives of sexual abuse.
These gyms are what are called member gyms. And they are, again, ill-equipped to handle the reporting process. And instead, if any report comes forward of any kind of inappropriate conduct, misconduct, for instance, that report is directed to USASF. We are exploring that level of control.
Designated by Varsity as a rising coach in Knoxville achieving star status, Dominic Frizzell of Premier Athletics is accused of abuse while, quote, under the control and authority of Varsity, USASF, USA Cheer, and others.
Premier Gym had information and had reports that Mr. Frizzell had sexually abused young boys for weeks, months, and yet he continued to be allowed in the gym. No one called John Doe number 1 to tell him about these reports from other athletes.
And in response to the lawsuit, USA Cheer sent ABC 24 this statement saying, what is alleged to have occurred is tragic and we are heartbroken for any victims of abuse. Sexual abuse and misconduct in all forms is reprehensible and has no place in sport or society. USA Cheer will continue to work with the entire cheer community and all relevant agencies to rid it of bad actors and hold those responsible to account. Now, tonight we have learned that Frizzell has been dismissed from the University of Tennessee cheer program as a cheerleader. Meanwhile, attorney Sellers believes that this suit will lead to criminal charges. Richard?
Memphis-based Varsity Sports is facing another lawsuit tonight, this time in Georgia. Attorneys filed a new federal lawsuit on behalf of a young athlete who they allege was sexually abused by a coach for the Stingray All-Stars in Marietta, Georgia. The lawsuit claims athletes at the gym, as well as coaches, sexually abused the teenager and were aware of what was happening, yet failed to report it. The string of lawsuits filed accuse the brands Varsity Spirit, Bain Capital, and the U.S. All-Star Federation of putting corporate profits ahead of their responsibility to protect teenage athletes.
Attorneys in Greenville say they're filing a lawsuit against Rockstar Cheer, Varsity Spirit, and the U.S. All-Star Federation. This comes after a Department of Homeland Security investigation into the founder of Rockstar Cheer, Scott Foster. Investigators say he provided alcohol and drugs to athletes under his care, groping and sexually assaulting them. The attorneys allege that both male and female athletes are involved here and that the case goes back decades. They're now saying this could lead to the discovery of a culture of abuse.
We actually identified other defendants, we've identified other organizations, and we do want this.
I want to say, Varsity Spirit has had major Disney/ESPN relationships. Varsity has announced multi-year ESPN extensions to televise championships throughout 2025, and varsity events have also long been hosted by ESPN, Wide World of Sports, and Walt Disney World. Let's keep going.
Community to know that Scott Foster was not the only abuser. All of the information that we have will be put forth in our complaint, which will come sooner rather than later.
And according to the attorneys, there is one other local cheer coach that has been identified in their investigation, but they have not yet released the name.
When you think of American companies who
Varsity Spirit, the organization dedicated to empowering youth through community and school spirit, announced today that 2019's competition season marks a quarter-century partnership with Walt Disney Resort, Florida. Since 1995, at the brand's first UCA and UDA college cheerleading and dance team national championship at Disney to present day. Varsity Spirit has welcomed millions of athletes and coaches from across the globe to participate and support their annual competitions. It has been an amazing journey watching the evolution of our national competitions and seeing the significant growth of the sport since we first started hosting our events at Disney, said Jeff Webb, founder of Varsity Spirit. With cheerleading recognized by the International Olympic Committee, we are now also accommodating global competitions with cheer athletes from nearly 100 countries around the world. Disney has been an excellent partner in helping us achieve our goals and serving the thousands of athletes that look to Varsity Spirit as the leading authority on cheer. Okay. The arena at ESPN Wide World of Sport complex will host the nearly 5,000 athletes at the prestigious UCA and UDA College Cheerleading and Dance Team National Championship. The 8,000-seat multi-sports and entertainment arena is one of the largest in the country, designed specifically with cheer and dance events like Varsity Spirits in mind. Fittingly, the UCA and UDA College Cheerleading and Dance Team National Championship was the inaugural event at the arena in January 2018, marked with a grand opening ceremony and a high-energy routine involving Minnie Mouse and in a new cheerleading uniform. Amazing, right? So amazing.
would be considered monopolies. Who do you think of? Facebook, Google, Amazon, maybe AT&T? Monopolies have impacted every aspect of American life, from the food you eat to the music you listen to, and even
cheerleading.
We're not joking. Over the last several years, one giant company has slowly taken over all of American cheerleading. Their name is Varsity Brands, and they're on a mission to own everything having to do with school spirit.
Let's go!
They're determined to be the only name in the game for U.S. cheerleading, and it's time for the referees, the government regulators, to step in. How did varsity get so big? In the 1940s, cheerleading was actually a male-dominated activity. Presidents FDR, Ronald Reagan, and George W. Bush were all cheerleaders at one point. That was when cheer was mostly a prep school athletic activity. Now, it's a hugely competitive sport, with participants of all genders and ages. It's estimated there are over 4.5 million cheerleaders registered with the sport worldwide. And the sport supports a business beyond just the athletes. Gyms, coaches, competitions, events, and companies that make cheer uniforms and supplies. Back in 1974, Jeff Webb was just an entrepreneur with a fledgling sports organization that offered high schools training camps and eventually created cheerleading competitions. Over the years, Webb led Varsity Brands to systematically acquire and absorb other companies dealing in almost anything you can think of related to extracurricular activities for American schools, including marching band uniforms, class rings, yearbooks, caps and gowns, and athletic wear for all team sports. They sell everything cheerleading related, from sequin uniforms on cheerleaders' backs to the big bows we wear in our hair. They also make money by controlling cheerleading competitions. They bought the National Cheerleaders Association in 2004, and since then have bought up a dozen more small cheerleading organizations. Varsity controls the major championship tournaments and cheer camps for high schools. Varsity is even trying to take over the broadcasting lane from ESPN by streaming their competitions over their Varsity app. All of that has led to today, with Varsity Brands becoming a company worth $2.5 billion. That was the sticker price when it was sold to private equity giant Bain Capital in 2018. Basically, if you're a cheerleader, the parent of a cheerleader, a gym, a school, or any business that wants to be in the cheerleading world, you likely have to deal with Varsity Brands. You have no other choice. So why is this a bad thing? Varsity uses that level of control they have over cheerleading to get as much money out of the sport as possible. Varsity has gotten to where they are essentially bullying or buying up small businesses and competitors out of existence and pricing athletes out of an already expensive sport. It's not just the costs that are a problem. Varsity has so much control over cheerleading competitions that the critics claim they basically control the governing body of the sport. In one competition, they even rigged it so that the athletes who wore Varsity Brands apparel got more points. A recent USA Today investigation found that USASF had mishandled sexual abuse complaints for years that left kids exposed to abusers in the sport. At one point, Webb even testified to prevent cheerleading from being considered a sport so that it could stay unregulated. And that's how you know that Varsity Brands is a
MONOPOLY.
Some small business owners are standing up to Varsity Brands. There are a few class action lawsuits against the company.
No, I have a real question though. I have a serious question. So y'all just think it's okay to have grown men staring up inside of your young girls' vaginas? Yeah, they're wearing shorts, right? They're wearing shorts, they're wearing undergarments, hopefully. We all watched Bring It On, let's be honest, okay? That's why probably most of you got into cheerleading, because you watched the movie with Gabrielle Union, Bring It On, right? You saw that scene. So when you are putting your girls into cheerleading, you're okay with grown men grabbing them, tossing them around, staring up in their behind, and I'm not exaggerating. He has to look up, clearly, right? I mean, look at his head. He's looking up. He's looking up her shirt or down her shirt. I don't know. He's looking up her skirt. Y'all just think this is okay? This is just okay with you mothers and fathers out there. Especially the fathers. Like, you can just watch this and be okay with this?
Why?
Okay then. I mean,
some small business owners are standing up to Varsity Brands.
I appreciate the fact that he's talking about the antitrust aspect of it, but I mean, you're a grown man. What are you doing looking up a young woman's skirt and down her shirt for a living? Showing off whose strength? Your strength? Her strength? This is discipline? This is how you exhibit discipline in your life. Ollie. Okay then.
There are a few class action lawsuits against the company claiming that they are in violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act. And others have launched businesses to try to compete with Varsity and to give athletes and families other options. The International Olympic Committee just classified cheerleading as a sport this year, meaning the stakes are higher than ever for Varsity to consolidate their control. But ultimately, the government needs to step in and enforce the antitrust policies that can help keep monopolies like Varsity in check.
When you travel well, your ticket can take you to more than just your destination. It can take you to new shared memories. When you travel, travel well.
Pinnacle Cheer Memphis, not much activity outside of the private gym on Appling Center Cove in Cordova. But there was Tuesday at U.S. District Court in Greenville, South Carolina, where a federal lawsuit was filed naming Pinnacle Cheer's head coach, Jared Karuba, as one of 3 new defendants in an ongoing sex abuse lawsuit with Memphis connections. Karuba faces accusations dating back to when he worked for Rockstar Cheer and Dance in South Carolina. Lawyers with Strom Law Firm filed new lawsuits against Varsity Spirit of Memphis on behalf of 3 additional sex abuse survivors. This follows their filings in Memphis back in September.
This is the age-old adage of people putting profit over people. They allowed young people to be abused.
There is a culture of over-sexualization in cheer. There is a culture of placing adults with children, drugs, alcohol.
The lawsuit names Karuba in several lawsuits against Varsity Spirit, Rockstar Cheer and Dance, U.S. All-Star Federation, and Bain Capital. The suit reads, defendant Jared Karuba on several occasions sent sexually explicit messages and photos via Snapchat to plaintiff John Doe 3, who was 15 years old at the time. Varsity Spirit is accused of having an illegal monopoly in the world of competitive cheer, and the defendants violated protecting the young victims from sexual abuse.
We're seeking to bring justice and accountability to these companies and those who have done harm or wish to do harm to these innocent children.
He reached out to both Pinnacle Cheer and Varsity Spirit for a comment about the lawsuits, but so far we haven't heard back from them yet.
Is that surprising?
Attorney.
I'm not sure if y'all knew, but Jeffrey Epstein owned Riddle, which is the company that bought Varsity Brands before it became Varsity Brands. So the initial investors in Varsity Spirit, Varsity Brands, Rockstar Cheer, so on and so forth, is Jeffrey Epstein. I don't know if y'all know that.
He said
Google it.
was about 6 weeks ago when cheerleaders who were trained over the years by the nationally renowned coach Scott Foster at his facility Rockstar Cheer near Greenville, South Carolina, began to come forward, accusing Foster of sexually assaulting them. Then last week, Foster died by suicide, according to authorities, just as he was learning about criminal and civil investigations targeting him and his business. And attorneys on Tuesday said the lawsuit they are about to file will accuse Foster and others of sexually abusing a succession of minors and teens for at least a decade.
Scott Foster knew that he was going to have to face the victims that were the subject of his sexual predatorship. Just because he is deceased does not mean that the investigation is over.
Foster's Rockstar Cheer was so successful, he sold rights to the brand across the country. And as soon as Rockstar Cheer Atlanta, in Woodstock and in McDonough, heard of the allegations, owners announced they were immediately dropping the name, reminding parents that Foster never owned or managed their facilities here. Spokesperson Evan Neerman.
The allegations coming out of Greenville are horrific and horrendous, and we condemn them in the strongest possible terms. And the only connection between us and the individual against whom the allegations have been made is that we shared the name Rockstar.
Attorneys saying accusers elsewhere, who range in age from minors to people in their 40s, were threatened and coerced to remain silent. Foster's widow and business partner says she is heartbroken by the allegations and is promising to cooperate as the investigations are just getting underway. In Atlanta, John Schierick, 11 Alive News.
To a disturbing case out of Queen Anne's County. 52-year-old Dustin Burkett from Annapolis is facing several charges, including rape and abuse of a minor. State police say the alleged incidents involved a 9-year-old girl and took place at Eastern Shore Cheer Academy in Stevensville, which Burkett owns and operates. He's currently being held at Queen Anne's County Detention Center. Police are asking anyone who believes they were a victim or knows someone who was to call police.
Fallout continues from the Rockstar Cheer investigation. 5 coaches with the organization have been temporarily banned from USA Cheer and 1 permanently. Christopher Hinton is listed as permanently ineligible as a coach with USA Cheer. Peter Holy, Travion Tracy Black, Josh Guyton, Kenny Feely, and Nathan Plank are all listed as temporarily suspended. A lawsuit was filed against Rockstar and its late owner, Scott Foster. 6 coaches were named in that lawsuit, all accused of being involved in the alleged sexual abuse. Foster died by suicide last month. One of the suspended coaches just released a statement. Kenny Feely and his family said in part, through a spokesperson, "We are dismayed and frankly stunned by these allegations. And to be clear, the claims are categorically false. Kenny has always and will always conduct himself with integrity and professionalism, and his loving family and community stand by him with their fullest support." End quote.
New today, national cheerleading organizations are responding to a federal lawsuit. An anonymous man claims he was sexually abused by a coach at a Raleigh cheer gym when he was a minor. WRL's Keenan Willard tells us of another former athlete at the gym who says she was put in situations where abuse would have been possible.
A lawsuit filed yesterday by a John Doe says when he was 15 or 16 and competing at Cheer Extreme Raleigh, the teen claims an older coach at the gym started a sexual relationship with him and pressured him to use cocaine. It says the gym's owners and other coaches knew about the relationship but didn't take action. The lawsuit names gym owners Kelly and Randall Helton, as well as coaches Chase Burris and Sean Wilson. In response, Cheer Extreme Raleigh says it's been made aware of the lawsuit but hadn't received a copy as of last night, and they would be consulting with their attorney before commenting. Another former athlete who didn't want to be identified tells WREL that for years while competing with Cheer Extreme Raleigh, she and other underage athletes were put in situations where they would be alone with older coaches.
So there was definitely an environment that actions could easily take place.
The woman says many of these interactions happened on out-of-state trips with the gym. She says her time at Cheer Extreme Raleigh left her with emotional scars.
And there's no true adult supervision. I mean, you've got middle school, high school age athletes hanging out with their young 20s coaches without any accountability.
The suit goes further than the Raleigh gym. It names the National USA Cheer Organization, as well as the cheerleading brand Varsity Spirit. The lawsuit claims these organizations conspired to create a pipeline of young athletes to profit off of without protecting them from abuse. An expert on child sexual abuse prevention in sports organizations says she believes abuse at the local level can stem from policies of national groups.
The priorities of protecting athletes is not a priority in that organization, and that kind of bleeds down to the smaller clubs.
In response to the lawsuit, the head of USA Cheer says the group has and will continue to work with the cheer community to rid it of bad actors, and anyone with allegations of misconduct can use their safe sport reporting system to get help. A spokesperson for Varsity Spirit says, quote, "We reject any accusation that Varsity Spirit enabled such unthinkable behavior. We are committed to supporting survivors and their pursuit of justice against those individuals responsible." Peterson says families with children competing in all-star sports groups should never allow athletes to be alone with a coach.
The biggest thing we know about a sexual predator being successful, in over 80% of the cases, the coach has to be alone with the athlete.
Keenan Willard, WREL News, Raleigh.
And WREL reached out to Cheer Extreme Raleigh today for a response to the new claims about the potential for abuse, as well as all of the other defendants in this case. We'll update you as soon as we get a response from them.
A cheer coach accused of child molestation. This is a bombshell shocker.
Well, that coach is now off the job. CBS 46's Yasmina Alston tells us how his former cheer gym is responding.
This is the letter that was sent to parents of kids at Rockstar Cheer, letting them know that one of the coaches is facing child molestation charges and as of Sunday morning no longer works here. This is Donald Jones after being arrested in Cobb County for child molestation charges. An arrest warrant tells us Jones is accused of molesting a teenage boy in his Marietta home. That warrant details the victim's account of the alleged sexual abuse, stating the teen told Jones to stop and asked why it hurt. It continues to say that Jones picked up the teen before bringing him to his home. We learned Tuesday that Jones was a coach at Rockstar Cheer Atlanta in Woodstock. He is listed on the website as the athletic director. We asked gym staff for a comment and were given this letter. It was sent to all parents, telling them Jones was fired after his arrest. The letter reads in part, quote, "While we are not privy to the facts and circumstances surrounding his arrest, there is no question that these are serious allegations," end quote. We don't know if the teen was a member at the gym. Jones was released on bond. And also in that letter, the gym's owner says she is making herself available today and Wednesday for any parents who might have any concerns. She also notes that they are in no position to discuss any of the allegations that Jones faces. Reporting in Woodstock, Yasmina Alston, CBS 46 News.
A former coach being held on child sex abuse charges in Jefferson County is now facing similar charges in St. Louis County. Marco Zamfier has been in jail since December. A woman recently came forward saying he abused her in 2013 when she was 13 years old. At the time, he was her coach at a YMCA in St. Louis County. She decided to speak up after learning about another victim. St. Louis County Police want to hear from anyone else who may have been abused.
A Gwinnett County cheerleading coach will spend more than a decade in prison after pleading guilty to sexually abusing a teen he coached. Charles Moore III was sentenced to 25 years, with the first 12 to be served behind bars. He pleaded guilty to charges including child sexual exploitation and grooming. The case began back in 2024 when the teen came forward. Moore still faces charges in connection with other alleged incidents as well. Prosecutors say Moore coached at Star Athletics cheer and tumbling in Barrow County, Atlanta Jayhawks in Gwinnett, and Walnut Grove High School in Walton County.
Right now, the Knox County Sheriff's Office is investigating a cheerleading coach after he was accused of sexually abusing minors. The lawsuit claims the Knoxville gym failed to protect the victims. It also blames several organizations behind competitive cheer. There are a lot of details to break down within this case. Reporter Mary Klingler is here to explain it. Mary?
Well, Beth, the lawsuit is 71 pages long, and inside, the plaintiffs accuse Premier Athletics, Varsity, and several other cheer companies of gross negligence, saying they all failed to protect young victims from harm. Now, this comes after two teenage boys say they were sexually abused by their cheer coach at Premier Athletics, and the coach, identified as Dominic Frizzell, was also a UT cheerleader. Two victims, one from Knox County, the other from Union County, say Dominic Frizzell solicited them for sex and sent pornographic pictures and videos. The teenagers behind the lawsuit claim they were 14 when their coach began grooming them for a sexual relationship. Steve Butcher worked at Premier several years ago. Since then, he's worked for the International Gymnastics Association.
The main thing is what's going to be done and what will they be doing in the future to make sure that they best safeguard their athletes.
Frizzell hasn't been arrested or charged with a crime. However, plaintiffs say the misconduct was enabled by the gym manager and the company Varsity, which organizes cheer competitions and created the U.S. All-Star Federation.
I hate that for these kids because the relationship I had with my coaches and my teammates was something I cherish still to this day. My children come to classes here.
Today, Premier informed parents about the lawsuit.
We haven't seen any type of activities or issues that we've seen. Even standing in the children's center here, you can view the entire gym with male trainers and female trainers and things like that.
Former NCAA cheerleader and coach Xavier Broom says allegations like these are happening more often, and it's important for coaches or staff to intervene.
It's not something that I take lightly. It goes without saying why it's so important to speak up if you know that something's, going on with someone.
Now, Premier Athletics did respond to these allegations. In a statement, they say, quote, "The lawsuit contains many inaccuracies and false statements about Premier Knoxville. The current owners of Premier say they did not own the business until August 2021, and they say once they got the first claim this summer, they responded to law enforcement. They gave it to law enforcement. They also suspended Frizzell. You can find the full lawsuit with all the details right now on our website, WBIR.com.
All right, Mary, thank you.
please don't ask me for anything else. Okay? There's nothing else for me to say. There's nothing else for me to show you. When you signed this contract, out of courtesy, let me do one more thing for you. Out of courtesy, let me read this out loud for you, just in case. But I understand now you have a dictionary to help you, so you can read it now. But I will still read it out for you, just so that you can hear it too, because I think that might help, okay? First of all, the Varsity Spirit Spectacular Liability Release and Waiver Form. This is the Participant Liability Release and Waiver Form. Read carefully before signing. And terms as used below, Varsity shall mean Varsity Spirit LLC, and Disney shall mean Disney Destinations LLC, and Walt Disney Parks and Resorts US Inc. Incorporated. Okay? Let me read this part to you out loud. Notice to the minor child's natural guardians. Read this release and waiver form completely and carefully. You are agreeing to let your minor child engage in a potentially dangerous activity. You are agreeing that even if each of the released parties, that is Walt Disney Parks and Resorts US Incorporated, Disney Destinations LLC, ESPN Incorporated, Varsity Spirit LLC, all event sponsors and charities, US All-Star Federation Incorporated, USA Federation for Sport Cheering, and Central Florida Tourism Oversight District and its Board of Supervisors together with each of the above named entities, respective parent companies at all levels, subsidiaries, affiliated companies, directors, officers, representatives, members, agents, employees, contractors, heirs, successors, assigns, executors, and administrators. Use reasonable care in providing this activity. There is a chance your child may be seriously injured or killed by participating in this activity, because there are certain dangers inherent in the activity that cannot be avoided or eliminated. By signing this release and waiver form, you are giving up your child's right and your right to recover from the released parties, that is Walt Disney Parks and Resorts US Incorporated, Disney Destinations LLC, ESPN Incorporated, Varsity Spirit LLC, all event sponsors and charities, US All-Star Federation Incorporated, USA Federation for Sport Cheering, and Central Florida Tourism Oversight District and its Board of Supervisors, together with each of the above named entities, respective parent companies at all levels, subsidiaries, affiliated companies, directors, officers, representatives, members, agents, employees, contractors, heirs, successors, assigns, executors, and administrators in a lawsuit for any personal injury, including death, to your child, or any property damage that results from the risk that are natural part of the activity. You have the right to refuse to sign this form. And the released parties, that is Walt Disney and Resorts US Incorporated, Disney Destinations LLC, ESPN Incorporated, Varsity Spirit LLC, all event sponsors and charities, US All-Star Federation Incorporated, USA Federation for Sport Cheering, and Central Florida Tourism Oversight District and its Board of Supervisors, together with each of the above entities' respective parent companies at all levels, subsidiaries, affiliated companies, directors, officers, representatives, members, agents, employees, contractors, heirs, successors, assigns, executors, and administrators have the right to refuse to let your child participate if you do not sign this form. The notice above is also given and applicable to legal guardians and their minor wards who you are agreeing to let engage in potentially dangerous activities. All references to child above are applicable to your minor wards and your ward's right to recover from the released parties. That is Walt Disney Parks and Resorts US Incorporated, Disney Destinations LLC, ESPN Incorporated, Varsity Spirit LLC, all event sponsors and charities, US All-Star Federation Incorporated, USA Federation for Sport Cheering, and Central Florida Tourism Oversight District and its Board of Supervisors, together with each of the above named entities' respective parent companies at all levels, subsidiaries, affiliated companies, directors, officers, representatives, members, agents, employees, contractors, heirs, successors, assigns, executors, and administrators. We hereby warrant that we have read this release and waiver form in its entirety and fully understand its contents, and we are aware that this participant release and waiver form releases releasees defined above from liability and contains an acknowledgement of our voluntary and knowing assumption of the risk of injury or illness. We further acknowledge that nothing in this release and waiver form constitutes a guarantee that the events will occur. We have signed this document voluntarily and of our own free will. And then you signed your name. Love the Salazars. And ship them off to die at Disney World.
Breaking news, there's a new lawsuit filed on behalf of hundreds of accusers against Rockstar Cheer, its owners, Varsity Spirit, and the U.S. All-Star Federation. 7 News' Alessandra.
So I guess the question becomes, is sex defined as an activity of cheerleading? Is sex abuse covered in your liability agreements, Disney, Varsity, and all other subsidiaries, heirs, successors, assigns, executors, administrators, so on and so forth?
Young breaks it down.
The 44-page lawsuit filed Thursday against.
Take control of the itch and athlete's foot. Try Dr. Scholl's Athlete's Foot Cream.
Meanwhile, a Claremont cheer coach accused of lewd and lascivious behavior is denying those allegations. Amanda McKenzie joins us live in studio. And Amanda, this is according to his attorney.
That's right. So the attorney for 39-year-old Vigilin DeHaty says his client is being falsely accused of molesting girls. Police arrested DeHaty last week. He owns and operates Rush All Stars, also known as the World Cheer Center in Claremont.
So y'all want me to trust him too? I'm supposed to just like overlook him because of his skin color.
Claremont. Investigators say lewd and lascivious. Investigators say known as the World Cheer Center in Claremont. Investigators say lewd and lascivious acts occurred at his gym involving 3 teenage girls. However, DeHaty's attorney says none of it happened.
He did not do what he's accused of. He flatly denies it. He is horrified.
DeHaty? Y'all know that there's Black Russians, right? Black Japanese. I mean, if a Japanese man is speaking for you, that makes you a Black Japanese. That's your father.
By the allegations. He's in a line of work where he works with minors, and his livelihood and his reputation are being destroyed by these allegations, which maybe that was the point of all of this.
Attorney Mike Longwell says DeHaty and his wife have owned the gym for more than 20 years. He says it's a physical sport, so if there was any touching, it wasn't in a sexual way. He also says it is an open gym where everyone can see each other. In the studio,
I used to work at a store. I don't know if I should tell this story.
Amanda McKenzie, Fox 35 News.
Can't trust them.
Michelle, thank you. North Carolina A&T State University's cheer squad is on the bench this afternoon. The university is looking into allegations that the coaches did not properly report a rape allegation. In a public Facebook post, the cheerleader said that she told the coaches about what happened, but they failed to report it to the school. The cheerleader is now calling for those employees to be removed from that university staff. Tonight, the athletics department confirmed those coaches are still employed. The cheer squad will not be cheering at games this coming Saturday and Monday.
A California jury has convicted a former cheerleading coach of 23 felony counts involving the abuse of 10 girls, some as young as 9 years old, in a case prosecutors say spanned years and multiple youth programs. Prosecutors say Eric Joseph Christensen, 46, abused girls between 1999 and 2006 while working as a competitive cheer coach, a high school assistant coach, and a counselor at a YMCA sleep-away camp in Orange County. The victims ranged in age.
Y'all just be letting anybody near your kids. For real. Just anybody. Look at this dude.
From 9 to 16. According to the district attorney's office, some girls later quit cheerleading altogether, but didn't report the abuse at the time because of fear and embarrassment. Christensen was convicted of multiple felony counts, including lewd acts on minors, sexual penetration by foreign objects. In total, jurors found him guilty on 23 felony charges. The case resurfaced years later after Christensen was arrested in Florida in 2022 for allegedly engaging in sexual acts on camera with minors at another cheer club. After news coverage of that arrest, former victims in California came forward, triggering a broader investigation. Christensen now faces a potential sentence of up to 165 years in prison. He's scheduled to be sentenced March 2026. I don't think a life sentence or 165 years does these justice. I don't think the penalties are harsh enough for these kinds of situations. That's why it continues to happen over and over. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you want daily consistent content on breaking true crime stories, take 1 second and click that subscribe button.
A cheer coach accused of sexually abusing children here in Central Florida is facing new charges across the country. Eric Christensen was arrested in Fargo, North Dakota on a warrant out of Orange County, California. That's where he's accused of molesting at least 6 girls. He faces a maximum of 105 years to life in prison.
Does he not look like a pirate himself? Like, who the fuck has tentacles these days? Like, what the hell is going on?
If convicted on all of these charges. Now, we told you about Christensen over the summer when he was arrested in Daytona Beach and accused of exposing himself to 3 young girls on FaceTime and allegedly groping girls as well. He's facing a federal lawsuit related to those charges.
All right, so many states have eliminated or extended the statute of limitations for serious SA offenses, including or especially rape, felony SA, child SA. Some states have no time limit at all for certain SA crimes, while others still have deadlines, so state by state.
Secret Service Sam here with a Carmelo Anthony Austin Metcalf update. Here is an email I have obtained. I believe it to be real. Just listen to this. One of the cheerleaders complaining about the twins. Coaches, the other cheerleaders and I have tried to make an effort to stay supportive and spirited throughout the football season. However, the disrespect we feel coming from some of the football players is making it very difficult. Today, after our game against Liberty, some of us cheerleaders in uniform went to Canes. While talking amongst ourselves about the loss, Hunter Metcalf stood up and yelled that my friend and fellow varsity cheerleader is a fat bitch. I don't understand what triggers his rages, but to yell this unprovoked made us all really upset and was incredibly embarrassing for my friend, as everyone is in Canes looked at her and started laughing. We see the Metcalfs act out time and time again, but we trust that there is no repercussions or some sort of consequence, so we stay out of it. But for it now to be directed towards one of the people that shows up to every game to support and cheer them on is astounding to me. After they left Canes, one of the other football players told us that Hunter said his hands were bisexual, implying that he would not only hit guys, but also girls. She is not embarrassed, but genuinely scared, especially after seeing the way he can act on the field. I'm only coming to you because I feel that you should be aware that he is acting like this in public spaces, which is not good for our school's representation and is discouraging us from keeping the cheerleading them on. I'm sorry for even having to come to you about this, but after tonight, it truly feels like it's getting out of hand. I recognize that he may be upset that we lost, but there is no justification for the way he treated my friend tonight. I would also appreciate for my name to stay confidential, as I fear what they would do if they knew. Why did Mike Howard not enter this in Carmelo Anthony's defense? There's so much that has been left out of this trial that we will keep it awake, and I will always expose their secrets for the community.
Okay. And I'm going to read this and then I will end this live here. Austin Metcalf's dad fires back on claims that twin sons were bullies amid Carmelo Anthony appeal. Okay. During a recent podcast interview following Carmelo Anthony's murder conviction, Jeff Metcalf addressed claims that his twin sons, Austin and Hunter, were bullies. Jeff appeared on the Jinxed Sip podcast on Wednesday, June 10th, and spoke about a wide range of topics relating to the murder of 17-year-old Austin by Carmelo last year. One of his talking points was that he felt that today's youth suffered from a lack of impulse control due to a variety of reasons, including not enough instruction or guidance. Maybe their parents are not around. Maybe they don't have a father in the house. I don't know, he said. But people said, "Oh, your kids are bullies. Their parents are divorced. They come from a split-parent home." However, Jeff pushed back against suggestions that growing up in a divorced household was to blame. "I've got news for you. We live 12 minutes apart," he continued, referring to him and his ex-wife Megan Metcalf. Hold on, I have to read this over again. "I saw my kids. I hunted with my kids. I fished with my kids. I never once abandoned them. We co-parented the entire time." Before I move on. So, Jeff appeared on the Jinxed Sip podcast. One of his talking points was that he felt that today's youth was suffered from a lack of impulse control due to a variety of reasons, including not enough instruction or guidance. Maybe their parents are not around. Maybe they don't have a father in the house. I don't know, he said. But people said, "Oh, your kids are bullies." Okay. Their parents are divorced. They come from a split-parent home. So Jeff is saying his kids come from a divorced home, but he's around. He's in their life. He lives 12 minutes from them, and he still continues to go hunting with them, fishing with them, and didn't abandon his kids. He is in his kids' life even though he is divorced, right? But he's saying that maybe other people, other today's youth, so-called today's youth, lack impulse control for their parents just not being around, their father not being around. But no, not him and his kids, right? He's different. Living 12 minutes apart doesn't mean anything at all. Okay, let's keep going. Jeff's candid interview came shortly after a gag order in the case of Austin's murder had been lifted. Both Austin and Carmelo, now 19, were at a track meet. When they got into a heated confrontation, Austin allegedly pushed Carmelo, who responded by stabbing him in the chest, and the case quickly gained national attention for race reasons. Okay, but the point of this article is that a lot of people are coming out and saying that the twins, these two young men, were bullies. Not just to Carmelo, to everybody, to cheerleaders. Let's watch this back.
Carmelo Anthony Austin. Secret Service Sam here with a Carmelo Anthony Austin Metcalf update. Here is an email I have obtained. I believe it to be real. Just listen to this. One of the cheerleaders complaining about the twins. Coaches, the other cheerleaders and I have tried to make an effort to stay supportive and spirited throughout the football season. However, the disrespect we feel coming from some of the football players is making it very difficult. Today, after our game against Liberty, some of us cheerleaders in uniform went to Canes. While talking amongst ourselves about the loss, Hunter Metcalf stood up and yelled that my friend and fellow varsity cheerleader is a fat bitch. I don't understand what triggers his rages, but to yell this unprovoked made us all really upset and was incredibly embarrassing for my friend, as everyone is in Canes looked at her and started laughing. We see the Metcalfs act out time and time again, but we trust that there is no repercussions or some sort of consequence, so we stay out of it. But for it now to be directed towards one of the people that shows up to every game to support and cheer them on is astounding to me. After they left Canes, one of the other football players told us that Hunter said his hands were bisexual, implying that he would not only hit guys, but also girls. She is not embarrassed, but genuinely scared, especially after seeing the way he can act on the field. I'm only coming to you because I feel that you should be aware that he is acting like this in public spaces, which is not good for our school's representation and is discouraging us from keeping the cheerleading them on. I'm sorry for even having to come to you about this, but after tonight, it truly feels like it's getting out of hand. I recognize that he may be upset that we lost, but there is no justification for the way he treated my friend tonight. I would also appreciate for my name to stay confidential, as I fear what they would do if they knew. Why did Mike Howard not enter this in Carmelo Anthony's defense? There's so much that has been left out of this trial that we will keep it awake, and I will always expose their secrets for the community. Secret Service Sam Out Sampson for President of the world.
Of a Maryland Cheer Academy is accused of sexually assaulting a 9-year-old girl. Officials say that Dustin Burkett assaulted the girl during the summer and spring while she was at his Eastern Shore Cheer Academy in Stevensville. The 52-year-old was taken into custody after a grand jury returned an indictment against him. He's being held without bond.
A Gwinnett County cheerleading coach will spend more than a decade in prison after pleading guilty to sexually abusing a teen he coached. Hours ago, Charles Moore III was sentenced to 25 years, with the first 12 to be served behind bars. He pleaded guilty to charges including child sexual exploitation and grooming. The case began in 2024 when the teen came forward. He still faces charges in connection with other alleged incidents as well. Prosecutors say Moore coached at Star Athletics Cheers and Tumbling in Barrow County, Atlanta Jayhawks in Gwinnett County, and Walnut Grove High School in Walton County. A Gwinnett County
All right, so yeah, I'm completely done with y'all. I'm done with y'all defending even bullies, even murderers, even abusers, assaulters, companies, organizations that made you sign your child's life away. I don't have anything else to say. There's nothing you can pull from the dictionary that can justify you signing your kids up for death. Voluntarily. Nobody made you do it. You were not coerced to sign this waiver. You were not coerced to join these organizations. You chose to do it. And so I have sympathy for your child. I have sympathy for the children who cannot do anything because their parents signed this form. Their parents signed the child's life away, and there's nothing the child can do. The mental, the emotional, and the physical has been signed away by these contracts because of the parents. And you want me to have sympathy for the parents. It's not happening. So, the moral of my story today is think before you speak. I appreciate if you watch this video, thank you. And please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, leave a little comment or whatever. I don't bite. I just hate predatory behavior in all forms, and I can't be silent about it because the victims are minors, the victims are children, the victims are people who are defenseless, and I can't be quiet about that. And if you're an adult, but you are also an orphan, but you're an adult and you have children of your own, you need to still be able to stand up for your children. You still need to be able to protect your own kids. And maybe somebody else will be looking out for you to protect you, but I don't know. You gotta do what you gotta do. Everybody has a responsibility. You can't just, unless you're truly, truly, truly an invalid. That's a whole other story. And in that case, you should be in an asylum or something. You should be in a group home or some form of support center, something. You need a social worker. At that point, you need help. So, shout out to you. God bless all y'all, and I will see you in the next one.